Hello and welcome back to the Author Roundup, a special segment of the Book Connection Show where we meet up and coming indie authors and talk to them about the recently released books. Welcome back. Again, this is Ray Walters. There are books that inform, and then there are books that invite you into a journey, quietly asking you to slow down, pay attention, and maybe even look inward. Today's featured guest has written one of those rare books. It's not a self-help guide in the typical sense, nor is it a memoir designed to impress. It's something more personal and perhaps more courageous. Through the lens of Jungian Dreamwork, this author takes us behind the curtain of emotional patterns, inner conflicts, and long buried wounds. What unfolds isn't just a psychological exploration, but a gradual and honest movement toward healing, done not in theory, but in practice. Her story involves years of working with dreams, symbols, and something called active imagination. Not to escape reality, that is, but to face it more fully. Along the way, she reconnects with parts of herself that had been lost, silenced, or buried beneath the weight of expectation. She's a longtime psychotherapist, a student of Jungian psychology, and someone who knows that real transformation doesn't happen overnight. It happens in layers, in questions, and sometimes in the quiet moments after, waking from a dream. The author of The Bridge of Transformation, please welcome to the show, Dr. Melinda Fouts. Hi, Dr. Fouts. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Ray.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Well,
Hi, everyone. Thank you for listening.
well, thank you so much for saying yes for this interview, Melinda.
It's my pleasure. Feel very honored, Ray.
It's my pleasure to be talking to you today. But first off, congratulations in getting this book published.
Thank you. It's always quite the feat to write a book and then get it published and then be vulnerable to the public.
It is, and it's a great opportunity for me to be learning with you right now in this interview. As I've said, earlier, before we started this show, I told you that it is always a joy, a pleasure for me to be talking to authors like yourself, and I learn a lot each time I talk to you guys, and so my it's a pleasure really, and it's the gratitude is there, an honor to be talking to you. Melinda, you have written a book. The title of it is The Bridge to Transformation. And for the benefit of our audience, let me go through a little bit of a summary what this book is about before we dive into the questions that I have prepared. Now, The Bridge of Transformation is a compelling and deeply personal exploration of inner healing through dream work, guided by the wisdom of Jungian psychology. In this unique memoir, our guest opens the door to her own journey, one marked by buried emotional patterns, recurring dreams, and a slow but powerful awakening. Now, with honesty and insight, our guest shares how she learned to engage with the language of dreams, unlocking symbols and emotions that had shaped her life in ways she hadn't fully seen. Now, through her work with esteemed Jungian analyst Dr. Lionel Corbett, uh, she discovered how to bring unconscious wounds into the light and how that process can become a bridge to something far more whole, grounded, and empowered. Now, this isn't a book of quick fixes or surface level reflection. Instead, it offers a glimpse into what it really means to confront old patterns, engage the unconscious, and walk toward transformation, one dream at a time. So, whether or not you've ever written down a dream or considered therapy, the bridge to transformation offers something we can all relate to, the desire to live more consciously and fully. So that is the context of the conversation that we're going to have this afternoon. Melinda, let's begin
Yes.
with how this all started. What first drew you to Jungian or Jungian dreamwork and made you want to explore it so deeply?
Well, Ray, when I began my studies in depth psychology at Pacifica Graduate Institute, there was a class with Lionel Corbett on Dreamwork. I've always been a vivid dreamer and volunteered to share a dream. I was amazed at how the images of the dream revealed unknown aspects of myself. This was the inception of my passion and draw to the mysteries hidden deep within the psyche, a hunger to learn and uncover more about myself.
Melinda, you share your first impressions of Dr. Lionel Corbett early in the book. Um, what stood out to you about his presence, and how did that first connection shape your long-term work together?
When working with an analyst, it is so important to know you are not being judged. The moment I met Dr. Lionel Corbett, I could feel him being fully present with me. He truly embodies the teacher archetype combined with Yoda as an
Mhm.
archetype,
Okay.
wanting to impart knowledge and having deep concern for the student to be able to grasp the knowledge. There is a give and take in teaching where the teacher is open to the perspectives of the student and learns from them as well. And this was the dynamic I felt I could have with Dr. Corbett.
In the early part of the book, you talk about how dreams reveal hidden emotional patterns. And I'm very curious to know what surprised you most when you first began working with your own dreams.
We go through life thinking we're in control and consciously making choices. And I was amazed to learn at how much the opposite is true. For example, when we are confronted or there's an argument with someone, we usually take one of two stances. We either get shut down and withdrawn or respond in anger. Where did that come from? So, working with your dreams can give you understanding of the root of the emotional pattern. And with that understanding, you can then make different choices on how to respond. For myself, I was surprised at how not being lovable and not being worthy created entrenched negative self talk and
Mm.
emotional patterns of responding to those who would truly show me that I was loved and valued and worthy because I couldn't believe it. So my emotional patterns of responding were to push them away.
Dr. Fouts, a follow-up question. The Our emotional patterns of responding to people around us, um, is it correct to assume that these are childhood traumas? Um,
Usually,
you
traumas, wounding. A parent could just say to a young child, "Why'd you do that? That wasn't very smart." That could be wounding to the child, even though the parent unintentionally meant to wound the child.
true. In our formative years, we don't have any experiences yet, and we're learning as we go through life. And I share that perspective with you. I too, in when well, before this age of mine, even up until now, I would have to say that I have a little bit, it's difficult for me to respond positively, not really positively, but in a way that people would know that I appreciate them, because I have so many negative, self-negative talks in me. Um, Melinda, complexes are a recurring theme throughout your journey. When did you first realize how much your own complexes, especially around worthiness, were shaping your inner and outer world?
Well, Ray, as I mentioned before, feeling unworthy of love damaged my self esteem, my self confidence. It would sabotage relationships and so much more. Believe it or not, with this ingrained inner belief, we behave in a way that will create the belief because that is all we know. And so when we have a complex, it haunts us throughout our life until we address it. And you can uncover new complexes the more you do this work. And the challenge is to let that go and not let it control you and dictate your life so that you can open up to being, for myself, worthy and owning it. And then you will respond and behave differently in the world. Everything's energy. And when you shift this wound and shift this belief about yourself, people will naturally shift their behavior towards you.
Um, Dr. Melinda, the next question actually talks about your earlier dreams. But before I'm going to dive into that question, another curious question that I have in mind is that are these complexes oftentimes the sources of the dreams that we're having or we're going to have?
The complexes are embedded through images and symbolism in the dream. And so many times I would say to Lionel, "Oh, this is the mother complex again." It gets very frustrating, but you know the disco mirror with all the ball with all the
Yeah.
little mirrors? Your
Yes.
complex can show up in that many different images and symbols in a dream, and it just
Okay.
shows how much the complex has a hold of you. And then bringing it into consciousness, you have a hold of it to then choose to let it go.
Okay.
But it'll
Well,
always kind of still be there. It just doesn't have to wreck your life.
okay. Got it. Um, I said earlier that this next question talks about one of your earlier dreams. It includes a powerful moment with a snake that seemed symbolic of something much deeper. Without giving too much away, how did that dream shift your understanding of old wounds?
Right, it rocked my world. I couldn't believe the power this held over me and how destructive this image was. It was like my inner world literally cracked open and
Mhm.
exposed how what the snake represented was ever present in my life, trying to ruin my life. The energy behind the motive of the snake was so evil and unnecessary and very wounding. Our primal wounds are ever present, and dream work allows one to gain understanding in order to start healing those old wounds. And let me
Okay.
just say something real quick. Don't go buy a dream book that interprets the symbols and images. If you
Yeah.
looked up snake, it would talk about probably shedding skin is like rebirth. This snake was not about rebirth at all. And this is why you can't use a dream book because these are your images and the meanings are personal to you.
Okay. Got it. Many people have never heard of active imagination. Now, you write beautifully about active imagination and how it adds another layer to dream work. Can you walk us through what that looks like and what made it such a transformational practice for you?
Sure. There are certain characters in our dreams that are front and center. They're the main character. And after working a dream with Lionel, he would then say, I want you to do an active imagination with this character because it can give you more understanding of yourself. There's more information. You can, like, when I told Lionel I was going to write the book, he said, revisiting these dreams, you will get more out of them. And I did more ahas, more awareness. So, active imagination is just another level. So, it can be done in a variety of ways. It can be done through artwork. It can be done through dance. I chose writing. I chose to dialogue with the character from the dream, asking questions, and then waiting and writing the answer that came to me. The information from the image in the dream in the waking world imparts vital information that it wasn't present, apparent from the dream. The transformational part was throughout my dreams and many of my characters, the theme was consistent, which was
Okay.
frustrating to learn. I still wasn't getting fully the message. I wasn't transforming. I wasn't letting go of the old self to step into a higher self. So, this amplifies how hard it is to change an inner belief about oneself. So, dialoguing with this character, hearing what it has to say. So, it was always a two-step process. I would send Lionel a written copy of the dream. We would
Mm.
work the dream. Then I would dialogue and write the questions and the answers and send those to Lionel. And sometimes you're very surprised what the character will tell you.
At one point, you talk about discovering inner allies and inner healers through your dreams. How did meeting these inner figures affect how you saw yourself and how you relate to others?
The figures in your dreams are part of your psyche. So, first, I had to learn the inner allies and healers were aspects embedded within my psyche. In fact, Lionel would say, "You have so many inner allies." It was quite a lot, which is important because we feel like we're so alone in whatever we're struggling with, but we can call on these inner allies. You're not alone. And we often see them as someone other rather than owning them as aspects of ourselves. So when we can accept their aspect of ourselves, then we can begin to unravel the old belief, healing the old wound from the conception of it, and transform into who we really are without that wound. When the inner healer shows, whenever the inner healer showed up, Lionel always referenced it to my ability to bring healing in my psychotherapy practice.
Okay, that's very
I
interesting.
knew I did a great job, but I didn't know how well. So owning all of who we are versus the inner belief we allows us to transform how we relate to ourselves and then again to others.
Belinda, there's a beautiful metaphor in your book about building a bridge plank by plank toward transformation. Was there a moment when you realized you were finally crossing it rather than just, building it?
I love this question. Lionel and I had been working together for 1.5 years. When working a dream, I would take notes.
Mm.
And I remember the day very well when it constellated in me. This work is the bridge to transformation, and I'm on the bridge. Like I felt like I was halfway.
Okay.
My entire body quickened when I wrote the words down. And that is when I realized I was crossing the bridge. He and I were building together. It was one like those aha moments. When
Mm.
you do this work, Ray, you are not alone doing it. Lionel and I built it together. What's important here is he was the foundation keeping the planks in place, like the
Oh,
rope.
right.
Dreamwork is like manual work, only it is emotionally arduous.
Melinda, you're very open about how certain dream images stayed with you. Some actually stayed with you for years. What do you think makes a dream stick? And how can we learn to listen when one does?
James Hillman, another Jungian analyst, wrote about staying focused on the dream image. Really stick with it. I cannot speak for anyone else, but for myself, a dream, the image from the dream, will be ever present with me for an entire day or longer or years.
Mhm.
I think this could be an invitation to you to feel it, carry it, and then embark upon active imagination with it. Like you said, a dream will stick because it is important for you. There's information about yourself for you to discover. Many people wake up and already feel behind in getting their day started and do not remember their dreams, or so they say. Learning to listen requires having a curious mindset in the morning. Maybe wake up and ask yourself, who's here now, still lingering from the dream world?
How do your experience with Dreamwork impact your work with clients, and did anything about the way you showed up in therapy begin to shift?
Oh, yes. Even though I did dream work with my clients, working with Lionel gave me a whole new way to process the dreams my clients presented. I learned from Lionel that the landscape has vital information. For instance, if I had a dream that I took place in an unfamiliar country, he would
Mm.
tell me, this is new territory for the psyche. So we're in a new landscape, we're in a new place we haven't been before, discovering something new. And so I started following the method Lionel used with me, as it is so powerful and reveals so much more than the way I worked dreams with my clients.
Okay. Now, throughout your journey, you speak of reclaiming power, especially from the shadow of the past. What did reclaiming that power look like for you in like daily life?
This is a great question. Our old wounds hold us hostage in how we go about our day, almost rendering us powerless over them, and we're not conscious of it. The
Okay.
shadow of the past overshadows all we do, what we believe about ourselves, and so on. Reclaiming my power was to transcend the old wound so that I would know I am worthy. It was an inner freedom. When the shackles are off, we step into a new found inner power. We are in control of our actions and decisions, and so much more in our life, not the wound.
Melinda, before I ask you, before I close this interview and ask you the closing question, um, I would want to know where can we get a copy of your book? Should we decide, especially your audience, if they want to go ahead and grab a copy of your book, where can they go? Where can they order it? And if you have any speaking engagements, any YouTube videos you want to go ahead and recommend to them, if they're curious about your work, please go ahead and tell us.
Okay, so you can order the book on Amazon. You can go directly to iUniverse, the publishers, and order it from them. Um, I've written another book prior to this called Cognitive Enlightenment, A Disciplining of the Mind, which is also on Amazon. And I just want to say thank you for listening, and I hope you will all be enticed to start doing your own inner work through dreams.
Right. We'll be putting some of the links on the description just beneath the video or on the podcast information. You will be able to see that, guys. So if you decide to grab a copy, you know where to go. Melinda, finally, if you could offer one encouragement to someone just beginning to pay attention to their dreams, what would you want them to hear from you today?
Make sure you find a true craftsman, a master guide to uncover the hidden meanings within the dream images. I have taken many, many courses on working dreams. They are all different, very different, except for one thing consistently is to stay with the image. You also need to feel connected to this person so you can be vulnerable as these dreams expose so much that even you will find it hard to face the material at times. I know I did. And thank God for Lionel. He was just this loving container holding my angst and my struggles. So hang in there, though. It is truly worth the journey and all you discover about yourself along the way.
Dr. Melinda Fouts, thank you so much for your time, for sharing uh, your book to us.
Well, thank you, Ray. These were great questions. And I hope everyone finds some value or benefit from reading the book.
Thank you so much, Melinda. I also want to give a big shout out to our awesome viewers and listeners for joining us for this interview. Stay tuned for more inspiring conversations on the Author Roundup. I'm Ray Walters. Join me next time as we explore the world of supported self publishing, one indie author at a time.